This world doesn't reward hard work, it exploits it. Someone somewhere is doing that to you right now. I will prove it to you. I watched a man break his back in the sun for 10 hours straight. Right across the street, a 24-year-old sat in a cafe sipping iced coffee, tapping a laptop, and made more in 20 minutes than that man made in a week. That moment shattered something inside me because what I found out next, you're not going to like it. The most dangerous lie ever told. True humanity isn't about money, relationships, or success. It's about the virtue of hard work. And this lie has been keeping you enslaved. But before I destroy everything you thought you knew about success, I need you to be brutally honest about something, Ford. Since you started working hard, have you gotten the life of your dreams? Are you able to travel around the world or have that true freedom you deserve? Tell me, I really want to know in the comments, but I already know the answer to that. What if I told you that the person working 80 hours a week will never have the power of someone who works 3 hours but thinks strategically? Right now, somewhere in the world, there's a construction worker breaking his back under the scorching sun for $15 an hour. At the exact same moment, there's a 25-year-old in an air-conditioned office making $15,000 an hour by moving numbers on a screen. But here's what nobody tells you about that difference. The construction worker believes in the lie. The 25-year-old discovered the truth. And once you see what I'm about to show you, you'll never look at hard work the same way again. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what comes next is going to destroy everything you thought you knew about success. From the moment you could walk, they programmed you. Work hard and you'll succeed. The early bird gets the worm. No pain, no gain. Beautiful phrases, inspiring quotes, complete manipulation. Because here's the question they never wanted you to ask. If hard work equals success, why are the hardest workers always serving the people who barely seem to work at all? The janitor works harder than the CEO. The nurse works harder than the hospital owner. The teacher works harder than the education minister. So what's really happening here? You've been lied to. And the lie is so beautiful, so noble sounding, that questioning it feels like betrayal. But I'm going to give you permission to betray that lie right now. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's the hardest you've ever worked for something that ultimately benefited someone else more than you? Because that story, your story, is proof of what I'm about to reveal. The glorification of hard work isn't motivation, it's a control system. And you've been living inside it your entire life. Let me paint you a picture that will make your blood boil. In Renaissance Italy, there were two types of men. The ones who built the palaces with their bare hands, sweating stone by stone, and the ones who designed the palaces, never touching a single brick, but owning everything. Guess who history remembers? Not the builders, the architects, the Medicis, the Borgias, the ones who understood something the workers never did. Power isn't earned through labor, it's acquired through leverage. But here's where it gets twisted. The hardest workers aren't just overlooked, they're designed to be overlooked. Because the moment someone is grinding 24/7, they become predictable, visible, easy to use. You don't fear the man who's always tired, you pity him. And while he's announcing his grind on social media, posting his 4 a.m. gym selfies, bragging about his hustle, someone else is quietly acquiring the assets that make his hustle irrelevant. Niccolo Machiavelli warned us 500 years ago. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. But what if today's greatest deception is the cult of effort itself? Think about it. Who benefits when you're too exhausted to think strategically? Who wins when you're too loyal to question the system? Who profits when you're too invested in your own suffering to realize there's a completely different game being played? Right now, you're probably thinking about your own life, about the times you worked overtime while someone else got the promotion, about the business you built that made your boss rich, about the skills you developed that benefited everyone except you. If that's you, don't look away. This is your moment. Because what I'm about to show you isn't theory. It's the exact blueprint that separates the exhausted from the empowered. Subscribe if you're ready to stop being used and start being feared. Picture a Roman gladiator. He's strong, skilled, disciplined. He trains harder than anyone, fights with everything he has. The crowd screams his name. But who has a real power in that arena? Not the man bleeding for applause. The emperor, the one watching, deciding, judging. With a single gesture, he determines life or death. Not through labor, but through leverage. That gladiator is you, and you don't even know it. Here's what's happening to you right now as I speak these words. You're starting to see the cage, the beautiful golden cage of noble hard work that's kept you running in circles while others play chess with your future. And it's making you angry. Good. That anger, that's not weakness, that's recognition. That's your survival instinct finally waking up after years of being sedated by motivational quotes and productivity hacks. Comment, I see it, if you're feeling that anger right now. A lion doesn't become king by hunting every day. He becomes king by choosing when to hunt. His presence creates silence. His restraint is more terrifying than another's aggression. The hard worker runs toward every problem. The strategist watches the battlefield and moves once when the time is right. But we live in a world that hands out trophies for exhaustion, that worships burnout like a badge of honor, that calls sleep weakness and rest luxury. Ask yourself, who planted that idea in your mind? There's a reason kings had advisors, not calluses. A reason the most feared men in history weren't the loudest. They were the ones you never saw coming. But you've been trained to be visible, loud, constantly proving yourself. Every post about your grind, every announcement of your goals, every transparent share of your journey. You think you're building a brand, but you're actually painting a target on your back. Because transparency isn't strength, it's exposure. When someone tells you to just work harder, understand this. That's not strategy. That's a command designed for someone they don't see as a threat. The moment you become a threat, the moment you start thinking instead of just doing, is the moment they stop applauding your grind and start fearing your presence. Let me ask you something that might hurt. How many people in your life benefit from keeping you busy, tired, and distracted? Think about it. Really think about it. You think you're building muscle in the gym of life, but you're actually just entertaining the people in the stands. They cheer when you sweat. They applaud when you struggle. They love your story of overcoming, but they never invite you to sit in their section because your exhaustion is their entertainment. Your struggle is their comfort. Your grind is their security that you'll never figure out the real game. If this is hitting too close to home, subscribe because it gets deeper. Here's something they definitely don't want you to know. The most powerful people aren't the busiest. They're the most deliberate. They don't run faster. They remove friction. They don't compete harder. They change the rules entirely. A Machiavellian mind doesn't ask, how can I do more? It asks, how can I make less feel like more to everyone watching? This is the difference between climbing the ladder and building the ladder, between seeking validation and engineering perception. Mystery isn't decoration, it's a weapon. You must learn the art of becoming unreadable, because the man who cannot be read cannot be manipulated. He holds the power of confusion. He creates doubt without speaking. He controls rooms without stepping forward. But you've been taught the opposite. Show your work, share your process, be transparent, be authentic. What if authenticity is just another form of slavery? When you're always available, you're always replaceable. When you're always talking, they learn to predict you. And once they can predict you, they can control you. Machiavelli knew the value of opacity. The most effective leader was the one whose intentions remained hidden. Not because he had none, but because he refused to display them prematurely. Tell me in the comments, are you addicted to being seen? Because addiction to visibility is modern slavery. There's no scarcity in hard work. Millions do it. Billions live in it. But how many can remain unseen until they strike? Very few. A lion doesn't roar to prove he's a lion. He roars once, and the forest remembers for years. The rest of the time, he's silent, watching, waiting. Can you do the same? Can you go a week without posting, a month without announcing? Hard work has been weaponized against you, romanticized, glorified. Sex is sold to you as noble. But nobility without power is a story told at your funeral, not a victory celebrated in your lifetime. You're not here to be remembered fondly by those who used you. You're here to win. And to win, you must value something far rarer than effort. Look at any battlefield. The general doesn't fight. He doesn't swing the sword or carry the weight. He directs. He sees the terrain. He understands timing. One wrong move, one early attack, and the army collapses. The soldier may be brave, strong, tireless, but the war is won by the man who reads the silence before the storm, not the one who charges into it blindly. Subscribe if you're tired of being the soldier and ready to become the general. Why is it that the wealthiest, most powerful people are obsessed with stillness? Why do they wake before everyone else and disappear into hours of silence? Because while others chase dopamine and distractions, they're building something the world will obey, not just admire. Your obsession with being busy is costing you your edge. Your need to always be seen is blinding you to your position. And your addiction to motion is the very reason you're stuck. In chess, the most dangerous piece isn't the one that moves constantly. It's the one you forget about. The one that hasn't moved yet. The one waiting, still, quiet, coiled. When you think about hard work, think about consequence. Is your effort building influence or simply feeding a system that needs your exhaustion to survive? Because in every empire there are workers, but only one architect. There comes a moment when the man who has labored for applause finally realizes the applause means nothing. It doesn't pay him, it doesn't protect him, it doesn't promote him. It's a leash wrapped in the sound of hands clapping. You're not here to be admired, you're here to be remembered. And that difference, that quiet, dangerous difference, is what separates the empire builder from the bricklayer. So choose now. Will you keep chasing the pride of labor, or will you step into the ruthless stillness of the strategist? Will you keep exhausting yourself for temporary praise, or will you become unreachable, unreadable, and ultimately untouchable? Because the man who cannot be touched cannot be controlled, and the man who cannot be controlled becomes legend. I know you are no longer interested in being the worker who builds the storm shelter. You want to be the storm that others prepare for. But storms don't announce themselves with motivational quotes. They arrive without warning and change everything. The question is, are you ready to stop being weather and start controlling it? If you've made it this far, it's because something is dying inside you. The old version, the one who believed in fair play and hard work and waiting your turn. That version of you is suffocating in the truth I've shown you today, and that's exactly what needs to happen. Because what's being born in its place is something far more dangerous, someone who understands that the game was rigged from the beginning. The next level of power doesn't require more effort. It requires less noise, fewer moves, stronger moves, and silence. The kind that makes others speak just to fill the void you leave. That's when you know you've entered a different arena, where hard work ends and true power begins. If this message struck something deep, if it clarified what you've always felt but couldn't name, then do this. Comment leverage over labor right now. I'm giving you permission to stop explaining yourself, stop proving your worth, stop narrating your journey for people who will never understand the game you're about to play. Your enemies don't need a tour of your strategy. Let them stay confused, let them make false assumptions, let them underestimate you, because underestimation is the camouflage of the truly dangerous. Working hard isn't wrong, it's just not enough. It's the first stage, the proving ground. But staying there, that's the trap. The world doesn't reward effort, it rewards effect. It doesn't crown the man who tries the most. It crowns the man who alters the landscape with the least motion possible. If this makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the signal, the fracture in the illusion, the last gasp of a lie dying inside you. Because deep down, part of you already knew. You knew something was wrong with the endless grind, with the applause that felt hollow, with the exhaustion that never bought you peace. You knew, but you didn't have the language for it. Now you do. Hard work without direction is servitude. Hard work without detachment is addiction. Hard work without leverage is enslavement dressed up as virtue. And the man who wants to rise must do more than labor. He must learn to disappear from the pattern that controls others, to step back, observe, and move once, cleanly, like the hand of God across a chessboard. Once you taste what it feels like to win without being seen, you never go back to begging for recognition. You become unreachable, unreadable, ultimately untouchable. And the man who cannot be touched cannot be controlled. The man who cannot be controlled becomes legend. You're done pretending, done performing, ready to vanish from the crowd and become the storm they never saw coming. Now tell me in the comments, are you ready to let go of the grind? Are you ready to let go of the applause? If this message changed something fundamental in how you see power, write it plainly. I choose leverage over labor. Let's see who here is ready to rise without permission. And don't stop now, the next video is where we sharpen the blade even further. Subscribe if you're ready to become the architect instead of the bricklayer. Hit that notification bell if you want to learn the exact techniques that separate the controlled from the controllers. Because what I showed you today, this is just the foundation. Next, I'm revealing the 3 specific moves that billionaires use to make others do their work while they collect the profits.